going to talk about what happened with the police and my attempt to report rapes and what happened thereafter. So, at some point while I was still in the middle of my litigation, as I said, it came to my mind that, I should probably really report this, because I thought about the definitions of, what date rape was, became more comfortable in accepting the facts of what had happened to me and not blaming myself. And I also began to think, well, what if he's done this to other women? And I really did think about other women. I wasn't just thinking about myself, and I thought, has he done this to other people? And so then I felt it was sort of my duty to try to report that, because, it might help me with my cause, but also it might help protect other people from being harmed in the same way. And I think that is why a lot of rape victims do decide to finally come forward. Sometimes it's because of incredible damages that they've suffered, and loss of employment and all sorts of things. And then other times they really feel that, maybe in combination, they also feel that it is their moral duty to do this, because you cannot have a healthy society if people are unwilling to come forward and report crimes that need to be brought to the surface and dealt with. So, I've already talked about how I went to the detective, and he said that he was taking, he acted like he was taking it seriously. Everything was fine. He seemed like very kind of laid back, jovial type of a person, the detective Brian Cruz was. I liked his personality type, and the way he treated me was fairly. He didn't make me feel denigrated in any way. And yet, I think that there was something going on that I didn't know about at the time. And I think that he had knowledge of who Josh Gatov was connected to. And then possibly he also may have had knowledge of maybe who Robin Bechtel was connected to, because even though I wasn't going forward with that name and that report, it's not necessarily unlikely that he knew who this person was. So he said that we were going to try to get the person to make a confession over the phone, and then we called, and all of a sudden he'd skipped the country. And I thought that was really strange, because I hadn't told anybody about, maybe I told one woman, but I'm not sure that I even told her. I think the main person that I told was the detective. And then all of a sudden, we tried calling his apartment, and there was an Asian man, his roommate, his former roommate, well, his roommate until he left, I guess. And he answered the phone. He was very nice, and I talked with him, joked around with him even a little bit, and just tried to find out. He sounded like a nice person, the roommate did. But then he told us that Josh Gatov had left the country and was in Thailand. So he left the country a few days after actually about a week after I initiated my report, because first there was a report, then there was deciding what to do about it, and getting in touch with me and that kind of thing, and then all of a sudden, he's gone. So I knew that somebody had tipped him off. I didn't know who tipped him off, but I was sure that he had left for that reason. he did work in the ENNL department, which is where I worked, which is how I knew who he was. So I know that he had plans to do some tutoring, English tutoring abroad, and so it's not, totally out of character that he would go someplace, but I still sensed that it was prompted by knowledge of my report. So then I was told by the detective that we just had to drop it and leave it because he was out of the country, and I said, well, can't we still pursue this because of my statute of limitations? Can't we still pursue it even if he's out of the country? And he told me no. So that's what happened with that, and then later I called him again and I said, well, I'd still like to try to pursue this somehow and try to find out what it is or whatever. So then the detective said, okay, he'd do that, and he agreed to continue looking into it until the Willamette Week article came out. And then the minute that, and then before the Willamette Week article came out, I talked to someone about, I started to consider also reporting the date rape. And then all of a sudden this article came out about me, which was so defamatory, just made me sound really bad, and discredited me in a lot of ways. And then the detective came up next to me and he was kind of smirking, and I felt that his demeanor had changed. He treated me more with hostility, and he said, it had to be dropped or he couldn't do anything about the investigation. He's like, well, I don't think you really want to now that that article came out, do you? And he's being really sarcastic about and mocking me, in which he hadn't done. But actually, he was mocking me outdoors, outside in a park area on the sidewalk. He'd met me outside, and he wasn't talking to me in his office at the PD anymore. So I don't know if being in his office helped him to helped him treat me differently. But when he was outside of his office and talking to me one-on-one, he basically was sarcastic, mocked me, and then said, you might want to get a new coat because my face was on the page. I said, well, what am I going to do? I said I still feel that this is important, and I said, now everyone knows who I am, and I have my face blasted all over this front page. And then he just looked at me and sort of sneered and said, you might want to get a new coat, and then he walked away. And that was it. And so Detective Brian Gross had two sides. And that is also a reason why I have some feeling that there was more going on behind the scenes than I'm aware of. So after he was sarcastic and mocked me, I didn't know what to do. He was clearly not willing to pursue the report anymore and just kind of walked away like I was an idiot. So whenever he's on the phone with me, whenever I was in his office, he was great. And it's really interesting to get somebody outside of an office, or outside of a setting where they feel that maybe someone's listening in, and then see how they treat you. So after that, this article came out, and I was treated very badly. It had an instant impact. Everybody on campus knew who I was. They recognized me. My teachers that I had at the time, I was taking some English classes, and they were formerly very nice and really kind of supportive and acted like they liked me, and that totally changed after this article came out. It was almost instant. as in the next day in class. And I was ostracized. And so I tried to pursue my studies anyway. And actually, I think I'm just going to leave it there. I need to get through this material faster. But I don't want to make a really long clip today. And so I'm going to bring up the FBI tomorrow. I just talked about how I was treated with the rape thing and where that landed. And then I'll bring up the FBI situation tomorrow. And I'm doing fine, too, on this fast. It's the 17th day. And I slept fine. I think my face looks very thin. I don't think, it's my best look ever. But otherwise, I feel, went to the downtown, walked downtown, got a cast iron skillet for a nice cast iron skillet. Huge, large one. I don't know how long, maybe 12 to 15 inches, might be a 15-inch cast iron skillet. So heavy. For 50 cents. I was very happy about that. It's a really great deal. And, talked to some people. So, I'm moving about my life, working in my garden, that kind of thing, while I do this fast. And yet I do want somehow to have international notice at some point, especially when I start getting into what forms of torture were used against me and then my son and his kidnapping. So this is where it is for now. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you're doing well wherever you may be.